take a look at the most recent results in the TCG and see if Chimera was able to, you know, basically confirm that it was a real deck. But I'm seeing none of them. Once again, we're making use of the Septo spreadsheet. Exclamation mark spreadsheet if you want to also look at this beautiful spreadsheet and give some love to Septo, who's providing us with this information as always. These are the topping decks from past weekend only regionals. Where is Chimera? Rescue Ace is here though. Unchained is also here again. I'm gonna say out of all the new decks from Duelist Nexus, I am the most impressed with Unchained in terms of the results. It feels like Unchained might just be a real deck. The Unchained is real. It's kind of crazy, and I think that's a very good thing, because the Unchained deck, let me be honest with you, the Unchained deck is strong, but in no way is that deck like bad for the game or toxic or anything like that. That deck seems super healthy to me. So honestly, a world, I am happy to live in a world where Unchained is a top meta contender. Like, I'm genuinely hyped to have Unchained in the format. That deck is cool. Why not in the OCG week to maxi? Unchained has like no line that doesn't special summon 8 times. But yeah, Unchained is interesting. I'm interested in Unchained. I also saw that there was even, I think, a regional winning Unchained deck list. Yeah, Unchained won the Texas regionals, so there's a deck profile. We can start with that. First place Unchained. Let me pause the music, move over, and here we go.
Rural here at the Lubbock, Texas Regional, aka YCS Lubbock, my goodness. And whoa, back on the channel, please introduce yourself to the world for those that don't know.
I'm Aditya, you might know me from the last video. I just won the Lubbock Regional.
First place?
First place, yeah, with the same deck, Unchained.
My goodness, yo, so how were your matchups throughout the day?
I mean, I took a list. My matchups were pretty tough. They're pretty widespread. I played against like Manadium, Cash, Infernoble, Dragon Link. I played with the whole array of everything.
Did any deck out there give you trouble?
Dragon Link was tough. My last round opponent, he was playing playing a Bestial Synchro deck. It was like kind of crazy, I'm not gonna lie.
Are the Unchained darks? Is all of it dark, or do they have different attributes? Like the blue dog, for example, that has a graveyard effect. Is that a dark? Or is it a water? Okay. They have a lot of attributes. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Because the only one you would really, I think the only one you would really care about getting Bestialed would be the blue dog, right? The blue dog is by far the only, it's like the only one that you really need in the graveyard, and the link. So the Bestials hitting Yama is annoying. I guess. Yeah, that's annoying. The Bestials banishing the Yama is annoying.
Well, before we see the first place goo, any shoutouts?
Shout out my boys back home. You know who you are. That's it.
That's it?
That's it.
Show us the first place goo.
Alright, same thing. 3 Aruha, 1 Sarama, 1 Rakea, 3 Sharvara, 1 Shyama, the Souls, Babies. We play tour guides, so...
Did this ratio change?
No, this ratio has been the same. We're still playing...
This is the exact ratio that I was using. I do think that works. I do think that ratio works for Unchained. The only thing I've been running into problems with is sometimes I was running out of resources. Like, I was actually running out of resources with these ratios. I do think that a big part of it, though, was that I don't think I was playing the deck optimally, right? I think I could have found some better lines to maybe save some more resources or end the game faster. So I don't think that was necessarily only an issue of the, like, you need more. It was rather like, I did not know how to work with less, right? That's very, very often a case in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is like, only because the deck doesn't work right now for you does not mean that the deck needs to change. Sometimes it was also just a me issue, right? Sometimes it's like, I don't know how to work with these few resources that I have, right? But sometimes if you know how, you can make a lot out of even few resources, right? But I think there is a couple arguments to be made to play a little more than those, but I think you can definitely work with this.
Tour guide, so we just play 1/1. I might bump up Rakea to 2 because sometimes it comes up to just like normal summon and dodge like Cosmic. Otherwise, like this is fine.
Oh yeah, Cosmic is good against this deck because you can just Cosmic the set cards when they target them. Yeah.
Same thing. 3 tour guide, 1 fiendish.
This is a weird debate that's going on. Is like people are questioning whether you should run tour guide or not in this deck. To me, tour guide feels like a very good inclusion in this deck. Honestly, just judging from the couple of games that I've played with it, and also just in theory. And then this entire deck is based around like 2-card combos, right? It's just based around like most of the things in Unchained you need to draw 2-card combos for. Tour guide is the only exception. Tour guide gives your deck a 1-card starter, and I think that's valuable. I think that's good. I think you should probably be running tour guide in this deck. Like the deck does not really need its normal summon. The deck does not have a 1-card starter. All of those things are fixed by including tour guide in your deck. I think that's just solid, right? I think that's just a solid way to approach deck building. The only argument against tour guide that I've heard, there's two arguments that people have been bringing up against tour guide. The first argument is that it takes up space that you could use for more resources, like more copies of the names, which I get that, but still, you know, more names, but then everything still needs to be 2-card combos doesn't really make your deck that much more consistent. It just makes it more resource heavy. And then the second argument is that tour guide is like weaker to hand traps. Like let's say you normal summon tour guide, you get impermed. Imperm is usually a card that Unchained, I want to say, is not super weak to. You know, if you start with trap and then pop it with Aruha, it's like that's not really weak to imperm in at first glance. But I think it's fine to get hand trapped on tour guide because there's like still a decent chance you can push through. I'd rather them imperm my tour guide than hold it for the DDD XYZ. That is also true, right? You can actually just let if you have imperm against Unchained, maybe it's just better if your deck struggles with the rank 6, the DDD rank 6. That's like a double rule close basically. You can just hold imperm and just imperm them on your turn.
You're a bozo if you're not playing this. It's the best like 1-card starter in the deck.
The only
was anyone
1-card
lucky enough to imperm your tour guide and that was it?
Yeah, no, there were a bunch of times where I had my opponent imperm tour guide and I just like changed Sharvara to it.
Oh jeez.
They just lose a card for it for free.
For example, right? Just Sharvara out.
Spells, 3 prison, searcher, standard, 3 prosp. Same thing. A lot of times I honestly sided this out. I played 1 mirror.
How expensive is the Unchained deck? I'm not sure if the cards have already gone up because the deck seems to be pretty popular and hype. The only really expensive Unchained card, I think, is the Prison. The Prison is, the last time I checked, it was like $20. We can check right now if it's still that. Hold up. Yeah, it's like a €20 card. The Abominations Prison. This is like a €20 card, and then if you go, yeah, it's like €20 no matter which print. Slightly more even. It's like so that's like the one expensive card. Everything else in terms of the Unchained core is like relatively cheap or reasonably cheap.
Today, and I realized like how many, like I needed all my deck.
And then it's about like, do you have the staples, right? Do you have the prosperities? You can probably get away without prosperity. It's really good in this deck, but you can probably get around it.
Extra deck resources. So I actually sided this out for like 3.
Oh, the Link 2 is money now? Oh nah. Are people hyping up Unchained to the point where it's not cheap anymore? Ah, okay. I mean, $8. $10 for the secret. Yeah, okay. Unchained Soul of Rage is not cheap.
Thrust, like just with my side deck cards.
Okay.
3 escape, 2 chamber. There was one game where I missed the 3rd chamber, but other than that, I don't think I'd change it. I think it's still fine, just because I want to keep it at 40.
I think you can get the Unchained core for like 100 to 120 bucks right now. Which is not, I wouldn't say that's cheap. It's cheap in the Yu-Gi-Oh universe. For Yu-Gi-Oh meta deck standards, I think that could be considered cheap. But of course that like depends on the person, right? Whether you can afford that or not. I wouldn't call it a budget deck, but out of the meta options right now, it's probably one of the cheaper ones. Let's phrase it like that. I am pretty sure you can get away without Thrust. I'm pretty sure you can get away without Thrust in this deck.
Same hand trap lineup, except for like a little bit of a difference. It's 3 Ash, 3 Nib, 3 Imperm, 3 Droll.
Lots
and
of hand
then
traps.
I wanted to respect Vanadium a little bit more, so instead of the books, I chose to play 2 Mourner.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was pretty nice. Just depends on the format. This is like really interchangeable. And then the 1 Talons for the Thrust.
Daedric, thank you for the 4 months. I would say Exo Sister right now gives you a better bang for your buck, I think. Like, Vanquish Soul is, in my opinion, way more fun, but it's like decently expensive and not that great, whereas Exo Sister is probably not that expensive and decent.
Did you miss the books in main?
No, I didn't play any purely, so it didn't really affect me that much.
Okay. Main account?
40.
Perfect. 40.
I mean, that was a clean list. That was a clean list, even without Thrust. I think that was pretty solid.
God.
Always 40, never play more. Extra deck, 3 tokens, nice.
Nice.
See. Sorry, 3 Yama. You need to play 3. A lot of times I banish like 1 off of Prosperity if you realize you don't need the 3rd. But like 1 match this came up as a 3rd. That's it. 2 Rage, 2 Anguish. I never really missed a 3rd of any of these. These were fine. Actually, I missed a 3rd of the Anguish. I missed a 3rd of the Anguish once, and that was in the mirror. And I was like, it's kind of sad I didn't have it, but I probably could have played that game a little bit better.
Okay.
1 a bomb. You don't need more than 1. You can recycle this back off of Yama, so it's fine. And then like the non-engine links, it's 1 Muckracker, Unicorn, Access Code, Underworld Goddess. Goddess didn't come up for me today. Access Code came up once. This came up a lot. This didn't come up a single time, but I would not change this. I feel like this card is very necessary for your grind game. I did make the change of playing 2 Caesar. This card came up, like the 2nd Caesar came up a lot.
I've been thinking about this. This has been like, when I was playing this deck, I sometimes missed the 2nd one. That card seems nice.
Against Vanadium, like I just like summon Caesar. They would partially crack my board. I'd end on like follow-up, and I'd just make another Caesar, and they can't play. And then 1 Zeus because I like this as a threat. It came up once, but it came up once against...
I mean, this is specifically important if you play Talons in like a Kashtira format. You really want to have Zeus to steal their Arise and make Zeus.
The mirror, but he had Imperm for it, so it was like not as good.
How do you counter this deck? I can't give you the most in-depth answer because I haven't tested as much against it yet. I think the core about Unchained is that it's... I would say Unchained is a deck that really thrives in like a grindy game play style. It's like a deck that sets up a solid board, nothing too crazy. It sets up a solid board that if you need to really know their effects, right? That's the thing about Unchained. You need to understand what their board does, you need to understand what their graveyard does, and you need to understand what their follow-up is going to do, right? And it's like you need to understand how to maneuver around their disruptions the best way and where to use your disruptions the most efficient. And under like especially when a deck really is good in the grind game, it's the most important to really understand what it does, right? And so if you've been having issues with Unchained, I think you should try to really maybe play the deck yourself a little bit, learn it, and maybe even just online. You don't have to get the cards to do that. Just like play the deck and understand it. And I think that's going to help you a lot in playing against it. In terms of just having singular cards that are good against it, I think the deck is decently weak to Nibiru, right? Nibiru, I don't think the standard combo... There's like... The standard combos will not play around Nibiru. Some combos can. It's not impossible to play around Nibiru. If they have a very good hand, they can. You can make the DDD XYZ early. So you can play around Nib. But not all the hands can. Right? Not all the hands can play around Nibiru. It's like you need to open 3. Yeah, you need to open 3 engine cards, basically. You can... Cards like Evenly are really good. I've been noticing that. Sometimes, not always. Sometimes Evenly can be good. I mean, sometimes it doesn't force that much because they can just pop their own stuff and then it comes back after Nib, I think. There's ways how they can still do stuff after Evenly, but Evenly certainly isn't bad. They can play around Evenly, but it still does something, right? It still does something. Like worst case, right? That's the worst case if they make that play. Worst case, it still does remove 1 or 2 interactions. So it's fine. Lava Golem or Kaijus? See, Lava Golem or Kaijus are weird because I guess Lava Golem would be fine if your deck can play it. Lava Golem could be fine if your deck can play it. But I think a Kaiju doesn't do enough. A Kaiju doesn't do enough because you have to leave Unchained stuff on the field because like you have to decide what you leave. Like you contribute the Yama, but that's not great. You contribute the DDD card, but then they still have all the Unchained stuff. I don't know. It depends.
It just felt kind of sad. It was just the last unknown. Side deck, 3 Eclipse. This came up like once today against Cash. That's it. 3 Bell. Just Respect Lab. That's it. 3 Thrust. This came up a lot. This was nice. 3 D Barrier. I didn't draw it, but it would have been nice against like Vanadium.
I would be so scared right now in this current format to play a deck like Pearly or Vanadium or whatever. Like any deck that just loses to Barrier right now, I would be too scared, I think, to enter a tournament with that. I'd be too scared.
I played 1 Lightning Storm, 1 Feather Duster, and because I realized playing the Mirror was so rough without this card, like I just chose to play this card. It actually clutched me in like my last round.
No, not the blue dog.
So is there any room in the main deck for that one, or you just rather not use it?
No, I'd rather just side this card because it's only really, really good going second. Otherwise, it's like it's not good going first. You never want to draw this card either.
I think siding this card could be okay, genuinely. Siding the blue dog could be fine. Main decking the blue dog, I've thought about it. I'm pretty sure is incorrect.
Like I drew it in my opening hand, game 3, and I was so sad. My hand was terrible, but he clutched out because I just like summoned one guy, summoned another guy, summoned another guy, then summoned Disaster, then he summons another guy, and then he can't kill me. So
yeah, well,
that's that.
Yeah, that was a relative. I mean, it was a relatively standard Unchained list, but it was still interesting to see that those type of lists can do well in this format. I think Unchained is a force to be reckoned with in the near future. What's the benefit of siding? Wouldn't you just main it or not play it? Well, I assume you're referring to the blue dog. It's like they said, it's only really good in certain matchups. In most matchups, you don't need it, and you really don't want to take the brick in the matchups where it's not necessary. And I do think in most matchups the card is not necessary. But if it's good in the mirror, then maybe you want it for the mirror.